So I'd like to ask all the participants be seated. From now on, we will start the session 2. Hello, everyone. I am the moderator of the session 2, the Dong-Soon Han from the Jeonju University. So we are recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and Korea and other countries are seeing the accelerated digital transformation. Among that, the digital transformation, we also see the huge change in the food sector. And today we want to have the discussion under the title of the digital transformation and the food plan today. Today, the two presentations will be made by the two speakers. And according to the presentation, we will go on the discussion. We were supposed to have Ms. Suzuki Mika first, but due to the technological problem, the second speaker, Youngmo Hwang, will start first his presentation. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Hello everyone, I'm Youngmo Hwang from the Jeonju and Jeonju Jeonbuk Development Institute, and I'm so honored to be a speaker in this session. Today I will talk about the issues and the challenges in the food plan and digital transformation. So this is the content of today's presentation. And first, I will talk about the problem awareness and the content overall. So our society goes through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we witness the vulnerabilities and the limitation of the global food chain. Many experts talked about the model of the food chain, which was supposed to be sustainable so far, but we could witness how vulnerable those are during the crisis. And secondly, with the suspension of the food, all the social safety net was suspended too. From the food bank and school cafeteria was the hub for, or the minimum social safety net for the marginals. But we could also witness that those system was paralyzed during the crisis. So under this background, how can we solve the social problems, and what will be the solution to this problem? That should be our topic of the discussions. Against this backdrop, the food system and the food plan needs our keen attention. Food plan is the strategic action item to solve the social problems. From the perspective of the social innovation, we need to have the constructive discussion about the food plan. Some people say that the food supply chain using the digital technology is very resourceful. I believe that this should be the useful tool for us too. And we also see the more specific and the concrete solution, but they have the good aspect, but also they have the downside too. So how can we digital information to the food plan will be the main idea of my presentation today. So before starting the main presentation, let me tell you about the concept and the characteristics of the local food plan first. Food plan is not just a simple food supply chain. As I told you before, social, economical solution to solve the problems in terms of the food supply chain. So we pursue the community food system where the consumption, creation, production, and consumption, and the circulation, and the usage, and the nutrition usage is made in the local level, at the local level. So food plan is a policy. So we have the special characteristic of the food plan as a policy. So we need to look at that. And I could summarize that into 4 character. So the key is strategy scope and the system transformation, because all this system is a very wide, and also because the scope is too wide, and then there are the conflicts of the interest. So the food plan policy needs the balanced approach. And thirdly, food plan is the response to the food problem. But the substantial substance of the food problem is not simple. So we need to find the effective chain between the society and the productivity. And then the food plan as a policy should find the right proportion of the market intervention. So many the economic entities has a high sensitive sense, or they are very sensitive to the policy. So we can have the flexible the policy, or we can have the forced, like a strong intervention for the food chain, and we have to combine those two together so that this food chain policy can be established well. So food plan in our society is getting the citizens' empowerment. And now the food plan was institutionalized because the Moon administration supported the food plan. So last year, we had the Jeonju food plan, which was the beginning point for the food plan policy. After the Jeonju's initiative, many other local municipal cities are having their own food plan. So we saw a huge achievement. However, in that process, we had the voluntary citizen participation. As you see it in this diagram, social movement make the plan, and the real entity is making this flow, and public agencies are making the policy. So the food plan are going through this process as you see in this slide. So let me give you some example. We have a civic organization and civil movements related to the food, and all those movements went through those kind of process I told you before. So one of them is the free school meal movement. So that was the institutionalized. That started from the primary school, but it expanded to the high school. And then they are using the organic food as the meal for children in school. Next is local food movement. So the producers receive the right price for their produce, and the consumers can find the healthy food. And it started from the Jeolla North Province, and then that was started here in this area, but it became the national movement. Now the CSA is prevalent too. After this movement. Next is the dietary education movement. So in order to socialize the value of the agricultural industry and food, because in the mid 2000, education movement for healthy and safety dietary led to the legislation of the Dietary Life Education Support Act in 2009. So it was the government's policy, and all the free school meals and local food and dietary education could come into the institution's framework. So the institutionalized food plan based on the local system, we have the food citizens and the food care and the reinforcement of the execution and the leading a local coexistence. So the new plan and purposes are the scaling up. How can we effectively respond to the problems are discussed closely at the local level, and implementation and then action items are concluded from those discussion, and that is a very positive development methodologies and process of the food plan. So the food plan is the very important social problem solution and the social innovation. So to solve the social problems, we need to define the social problems first. And here I will talk about the controversy over the social problems to you. First, due to the technological development, we had the various attempts to change the market and industry structures. However, with the technology supply chain, could not change the market and society. And also the solving social problem needs the scientific insight and the knowledge's opinions. And due to this kind of character, social problem solution needs to have the same evolution of the technology and the society. So joint development of technology and the society. So in order for social problem solution to the social transformation, we need the convergence between social science knowledge and the technological knowledge. So we need to think that only with the technology we cannot make a social transformation. Technology, industry, and economy, and the other social area and the social technology should be all merged together to solve the social problems. If so, let me tell you the meaning of socio-technical niche. Social technical niche temporarily protect the technological innovation from the primitive market before completing the market from other systemic and market factors. Because before it becomes a social technical regimes, it started from the niche area. So before a certain technology become the universal, there is the protected area. There need to be a protective area to keep the technological innovation. So that's the social regime. So institutionally and politically, we should be able to have an experiment of the innovation so that we can change the mainstream in the future. So, as a representative methodologies and the tools to solve the problem, social problem, digital transformation is referred often. Digital transformation is about the scientific technology. However, we believe that this should be activated or utilized in terms of the social technology, social problems. So we need to see the definition of the digital transformation first. Digital transformation is the fundamental transformation to integrate the digital technology with the business areas and operate companies and provide value to the customers. So the analog interaction moved into the digital sphere, according to the critics, but by integrating the digital technology, the people advanced the level of the human intelligence to the next level. So that means that digital transformation is a change not only in the industry but also in the society and the culture. So the digital transformation is irreversible trend in our life. So we can see the characteristic of the digital transformation. We can have a IoT, AI, robotic big data, and the blockchain. We have various kinds of the digital transformation. And the countries around the world have the various discussion about the digital technologies. In the U.S., in the Europe, they call it the Industry 4.3, 4.0, and in the Asia, it says Smart City, and Japan calls it Society 5.0. So digital transformation has its stages in the process. First is the digitalization of the analog data, and the second is a digitalization of the business process, and the third stage is the concept of digital transformation to create the new business models. So the digital transformation has not only the industrial aspect, it is more expanding to the digitalization of all thoughts and activities surrounding ecosystems. So if we look at this ecosystem individually, understanding of the digital transformation, which is a digital literacy, is a key. And for the business level, the products and the service and the business process model will be the topic of the digital transformation. So beyond the individual level and business level, in the social level, the implementation of the digitalization And the result of the digitalization should be the topic of the digital information. So the digitalization has the several stages in the process, and then also the elements of the digital transformation in each area is different for the individuals and business and the social society. Digital transformation is called the spread of the new technology, broadly speaking. So at the stage of the foundation of the new technology, the technology developed very fast, but the framework, the legal framework or the regulation do not keep up with the speed of the technology, because the entity, each individuals should have the full acceptance about the new technology, but it takes time, and also the economy should have a reshape their organization and secure the enough funds. So only when everything is ready, this transformation can be made. Each individuals in the society should have a high digital literacy. So that's why we have the time gap until the digital transformation is completed. So this time gap, how to reduce the time gap with the people and with the social tools is our task. So the digital transformation was referred under the framework of the fourth industrial revolution. However, this term itself is vague, and the scope is too wide. So digital transformation makes Industry 4.0 more concrete. And that's the other direction we have to look at the digital transformation. So we have several controversy about the digital transformation. So let me make it into the three category. So I went a little slow because the Ms. Tsumi Mika is not connected to the internet. So I tried to earn some time for her, but now I should go faster because I can see she is ready now. So first, scientific technology and the social technology, how could they connect it together with the goals of the SDG? And the second, in this complexity, we need to see the security risk and the privacy data issues. So these critiques should be accepted, and we have to find a way to discuss and find a solution. And also, another controversy is that who has the ownership of the source technology, and who possess this added value from the innovative activities. Those are the controversies too. So these controversy should have a different result depending on each stakeholders. So now the digital transformation relating to the food supply has the important controversy too. So a food plan is the solution to solve the food supply chain, like production and selection, distribution, processing and consumption, and the waste treatment. So all these supply chain is the core backbone of the food supply chain. So first, we need the discussion about the digitalization of the food supply chain, because a food resource can be digitalized, and we can make digitalized food chain. In Japan, under the name of the smart food chain, they connected all the data from the entry to the exit to refine the production and raise the values, and then optimize the supply chain, distribution chain. So on the supply chain from the production to the waste management, they connected all these elements vertically, and in this food chain, they connected all the business players horizontally. Then all the data are shared between the public and private sectors to benefit all these data. Beyond the competition of the locality and the production, the data should be shared together, and also the public platform should take the proper role. And those are the issues and the controversies going on right now. The second issue in the food plan is the public food supply models. In our society, using the food plan, the local cities try to build a food plan so that all the production, distribution, and consumption can be made under this framework. We had a lot of achievements, but with only the certain number of the local areas, we could not complete the whole food chain. So we discussed the strategy to connect all the local areas. And on the city level, we can connect all the production and the consumption and distribution, and that is made in the Jeollabuk province, specifically for the school meals and the local food direct store. We are sharing the data about the production and the demand from the school meals, and those will be connected all together by building a metropolitan level food statistic infrastructure. So the food strategy needs the effective decision making. Here, the public organization can have the information and platform and information network, how they can manage these network, and how all the entities or the field utilize or provide the data which is required for this platform. And all of players have a different interest. Maybe there will be the conflicts too. So if we have the metropolitan level food statistic infrastructure, and it can complement the local level food statistic infrastructure, but as the food from the certain area come into another area, all the consumption structure and the usage structure can be prevented to be made. Another issue in the food plan is the food sharing. The social disaster like COVID-19 threat the safety net, food safety net, and increase the vulnerability of the food supply. So food vulnerability should be decreased by having the food sharing and the food food caretaking. So in the area of the food sharing, maybe we can apply the digital technologies. For example, food waste which can be consumed again can be utilized again using the digital technologies. In Germany, they have the food sharing platform on which everybody can share food as the people who share the food. And with their mobile device, they can check the amount and the leftover of the food, providing the system for the people to check out the information. So the food supply for the marginalized people will be meaningful way in terms of the food plan. However, there are ups and downs. When private sector build, manage, and the maintenance of this food platform, they have a financial issues. So we have to think how we can solve these financial problems. And secondly, all the fragmented citizens should join in this platform as the users. And also we have to bring demand side into this platform. So we have to make an environment so that both sides can come into the platform. Of course, we can solve this problem through the digital literacy. So today, so far, I talked about the food plan as the social skill to solve the social problems. So among the many attempts to solve the social problem, these utilization of technology, digital technology, will be the very important scientific aspect to solve the social problems, and merging the food plan with the social technology and scientific technology will be very important. And I also gave you the 3 important issues related to the food plan and the digital technologies. We have many attempts to digitalize the food supply chains. Who will lead these digital transformation, and who has the original technology source, or who will possess the share, the profits, and also how will be the scope of the information provision. And also we need to find the balanced approach of the information sharing. And also the food platform is widespread, but there is a problem, financial problems, and also we have resource problems to bring the citizens' participation. The food plan of the social technology and the digital transformation of the science technology should be discussed more in our society. Thank you very much. Dr. Huang gave the very kind explanation about the digital transformation and food plan. So I think I don't need to summarize his presentation because he summarized it up already. Due to the COVID-19, The digital transformation was accelerated in our society, and since 2010, we saw the digital transformation one by one after smart transformation. So the COVID-19 accelerated the speed of the digitalization of this society, I believe. So we need to have a social system. So slow down a little bit and check meticulously the change we have right now. So we need to have alternative plans for the digitalization, and we have to find the right direction, and this should be shared with the local municipal government, and it should be reflected in the local food plan, I believe. So the digital transformation is always about the digital neutrality or the capital obedience, but the most important thing is that the who owns the technology and the who how we use those technology. So we need to have a power to control these two aspects. So the Dr. Schneider, Professor Schneider talked about it. So the big tech platform, how can we control the big tech platform, and those can be controlled by the platform cooperatives, or maybe we can have the control or power. So that goes same for the food plan, I believe. As Dr. Huang said, the food supply chain is a buzzwords. So how can we combine the production and the distribution and consumption? So the food plan in Jueonju was a planned production, and then they try to have a distribution channel, but then it is not that successful yet, and because it is difficult to predict the consumption. So if we can manage all together, so that we can structurize the food supply chain. And also, I think of it goes same for the food sharing too, because we have so much leftover from home, and we throw out the food garbage a lot. So we have to think how we can efficiently control the food waste, and that will be our another task to discuss. So is she connected now or not? Maybe she is checking her connection to the internet. Maybe the connection is not smooth. Then shall we start the discussion first? So while we are having the panel discussion, maybe she can join us. So can I call all the speakers and the panelists to the stage? We need to have the right control about technology, but then always when we have an important presentation, this technology has the glitch. So as we talk about the digital transformation, this case shows that how we should control our technology well too. Then we will proceed the panel discussion from now on. Okay. If she is connected, then she can join during the panel discussion. So we have Inu Lee from the Research Institute on the Localization of Social Economy. And we also have Ayeon Kim from this Hong Kong University. So we already look at the presentation materials of the Mika Tsusumi and Myungmo Hwang. So based on those presentations submitted, we will talk about the issues. Hello everyone, I am Inu Lee. When I was invited to this panel discussion, I thought the topic is too wide because the digital transformation was not identified or defined specifically yet. And the food plan also has a wide range of the scope. Then how can we have a discussion about these too wide definition of the words? So the Miss Mika Tsutsumi submitted a presentation about the digitalization and the food localization, and Dr. Huang talked about the issues in the food plan and the digital transformation. And I wanted to start the discussion this way. For the issues in the food plan, how can digital solve of the problems? I want to talk about that. So historically speaking, we had a globalization before the digitalization.
But due to its large effect, I think the local areas have come up with localization as a method to respond. And one of the ways is to create a local food system in order to counter the global food system. So that's how we came up with the food plan. And as the food plan continued to grow, we started to see three different trends. We wanted to build a local food system, and we found ourselves practicing creating a local food that is a part of the global food system. We didn't want to create local food. We wanted a local food system, but suddenly we saw a transition into a local food movement, which became another issue. And I received a note that we have Ms. Mika Tsusumi connected now, so we're going to listen to our presentation after my discussion. So anyway, so local food movement seems to be a very important trend, but in terms of food plan, this is a movement that started in terms of human rights. Consumers and producers, if they want to protect their right in the global food system, they needed to create a local food system. That was how we started this out. But our local food system was focused on protecting the income of agricultural farms. So as a result, we could not create a complete food system. So this food system, local food system that we created does not lead to sharing. We earn income using the global food system and share that money. And that became a problem. So we wanted to use local foods that's shared in terms of income to create a local food system under the food plan. But now people, opponents are saying that local food is very expensive, and some are trying to enter the global food system using local food. So in terms of digital transformation, there are various discussions that we need to carry out. But we need to think about whether this is platform capitalism or digital capitalism or algorithm capitalism. I don't think the definition has been defined clearly enough yet. This platform leads to a new business model, and this leads to legal controversy and debate. Here we need to think about the parties involved in this legal conflict. For example, let's say in Gyeonggi-do province, they're running an autonomous vehicle test. And when there's a car accident with this, we need to think about where the liability lies. This issue gives rise to the need to establish digital ordinances. We have actors, but the actor is behind a digital platform or an algorithm, making it hard to mediate a legal issue. In areas such as the US, we're observing a similar issue in farming as well. Due to digital transformation, companies are extracting data from farmers, and the companies that have built this data set have a lot of intellectual property. So we need to think about to what extent we need to recognize their intellectual property, and if there is an imbalance between power, how we can protect the weak. If when we collect data, data is built into a data set, and this creates an imbalance in the power dynamics, it could be used against me. So in the US, there has been a farmers' movement to create a convention on data extraction. In the food area, people have been working hard to pursue local food. But no matter how hard you try to search local food, it's hard to find the results. And this is the issue of algorithm. Let's say you're searching local food from Jeonju, and the result you're getting is local food from big commercial retailers. Now, what are we going to do with this? Here we need the role of digital citizens. We need to think about how to raise awareness of digital citizens in this regard. So I wanted to talk about food plan and food issues from the perspective of human rights because that's what I do. So I'm not involved in the movement for local food for income growth or better taste. I'm working for food systems to protect consumers from an unequal food system. So here we need to think about how digital transformation make a contribution. I think we have passed the age of food security. Not saying it's no longer important, but I think it's time that we need to embrace emergency plans as part of normalcy plans. We're not living a time where we need to suspend the normal plan when an emergency plan is operated. If we call these food security plan an emergency plan, does it mean that we need to stop all the normal activities when we focus on the food security plan? I don't think it's the time. Unfortunately, Korea does not have a national level food plan. We do have a food plan, but we don't have a food system. We didn't legislate the basic rights for food, so no matter how local governments try with their ordinances, it doesn't work. There's a limitation. Then how can we guarantee the basic rights? This is something very important for food, and we need to raise awareness of the citizens on this issue. And also in terms of digital, we need to raise the awareness of people on digital transformation. I think digital transformation should take a direction that is more protective of human rights. For example, I mentioned that you cannot search local food from Jeonju due to the algorithm that leads to imbalance and inequality. Then how can we protect Jeonju citizens? And we see the development of AI and technology, but we have failed to create an algorithm of sharing, and when we do share, it's about sharing income. So these are the issues we need to discuss to tackle. And when we search information, especially on a person, with a wrong algorithm, this person is supposed to turn out as a supplier demand for food, but it doesn't. So we need to think about whether the algorithm can make the right judgment. Until now, social economics should be utilized in the sense that we need to care more for the people and protecting their rights in terms of food. If someone's sad because they haven't eaten lunch, will the answer be giving them a lunchbox? Then how can we resolve this emotion of sadness? In the society, there are people who feel sad because they haven't eaten, or who feel alone because they haven't eaten. So resolving this emotion coming from food issues should also be solved at the national level. That's the essence of social economics. Would it be right that we just provide them with lunch boxes? Or should we provide lunchboxes and at the same time create a community to resolve this issue? And we need to avoid the issue of power going to one party too much with digital technology. With this, I would like to conclude my discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Maybe the listeners would have confused because the all older were mixed up. But you will understand after understanding our situation. So Inu Lee, the Dr. Lee, talked about the human rights and the food plan from the new perspective. So we can approach this food plan issue from the new perspective, as he said. So now the Miss Tsutsumi Maka is connected to the internet. So let me invite her to the event. Hello. Please go ahead. Miss Tsutsumi Mika, will talk about the digitalization and food localization. Please go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you clearly and see the presentation. Yes, we can see it.
Tremendous food crisis. United Nations has warned the food shortage driven by COVID-19 and Ukraine conflict and climate change and burst of world population. And the world came to realize that the current food system, hello? You okay?
예, 잘 들립니다.
Yes,
오케이.
everything's
예.
fine.
So the world came to realize that the current food system is not sustainable. Exporting countries stop food supply, and now the price of fertilizers and gasoline and major crops like wheat are all skyrocketing. And in my country, Japan, farmers are all suffering so bad. And they are all so worried that they won't be able to continue being a farmer anymore. But more and more people came to realize that the fact that monoculture and chemical-based farming, genetically modified organism and glyphosate kill the soil, natural function such as to hold carbon dioxide and providing nutrition. And that is one of the biggest causes of climate change. So the world is focusing local system from global system. And the United Nations has declared the right of peasants and the rural workers. Family farming decade has started in 2019, and the importance of the soil has also been stated. It seems that we are all going towards localization. However, now actually something new has arrived, digital technology. Microsoft founder Bill Gates has boldly stated that data and biotechnology are what will save the planet from hunger and climate change. He said that the genetically modified food and lab-grown protein in digitalized agriculture will save the planet. And under the Ukraine war and COVID-19, many commercial media are spreading the word GMO again. I don't know if people notice that, but all of a sudden, many corporate media are talking about the genetically modified food for food crisis. In many Western media and Asian media, and I was very surprised because genetically modified food organisms were already not sustainable, and we all know about it. But all of a sudden, it came back to the table. And last year, my book, Digital Fascism, Digital Technology, To cope how the incredible convenience of tech in our lives has become a norm, the people are forgetting to question or even notice. We have to face it. Technology is only a tool. So that means the result of its use can alter by 180 degrees what we aim to achieve in society. In Japan, often only the positive aspects of tech are reported in corporate media. However, this is quite important for a food system to know both bright and dark sides of technology so that we can work proactively and choose a way forward toward a better future. So specifically, I hope we can discover how digital technology is entry into the food system will affect the localization and how making digital our ally is imperable. As you know, in the 1970s, when the US government positioned food as a weapon, US-based agribusiness entered the farmlands of developing countries in Africa and South America and all others in increasing numbers, establishing a business model whereby they mass-produce grains for export to the world. So under the banner of fewer kinds of grains, more production, the expansion monoculture of the same varieties genetically modified by biotechnology has squeezed both the diversity of agriculture products and local economies, but has also pushed farmers into an economic master-slave relationship. They are growing GMO while paying foreign owners for the seed patents. So this global system, which has generated huge profits and increasingly unequal power relations between developing and developing countries through food, was further reinforced by the free trade regime. So just like Japan and US free trade contract, and Korean also has trade contract with the US, and we have TPP. As a result, within half century, the wealth of local grain varieties found globally have been replaced by mass-produced wheat, corn, and soybeans of multinational corporations. Now, just a few varieties occupy over half of the world agricultural land. You see, local governments and producers could no longer continue seed production. By the late 1990s, 60% of the world's seeds were monopolized by only 4 genetically modified companies. In this way, the entire food system became an oligopoly, with Bayer and Dow DuPont alone holding 50% of the seed market, and only 3 companies monopolizing 70% of the world's agricultural chemicals industry. This is very threatening to a local system. And right now, the vertical integration of all fields related to food and agriculture, including livestock production, agricultural machinery, retail, and distribution, is underway. So this monoculture model, which places farmland and farmers around the world under this control, especially in developing countries, is increasingly facing opposition because it degrades the soil microorganisms, which in turn has a negative impact on people's health and climate change. But a major turning point for the opposition movement was the glyphosate trial of Monsanto in 2008. The plaintiffs who had developed cancer after using glyphosate herbicide, which Monsanto sold in combination with GMO seed, won their case in a US court. It was very, very powerful incident. So Monsanto's stock price plummeted, and the number of lawsuits against the company doubled around the world. The number of countries refusing to import GMO crops increased rapidly, and the market for organic agriculture products expanded. So the world seemed to be fighting of the unsustainability of the mass production and mass consumption system, and attention being paid to organic agriculture and knowledge-intensive agroecology, where diversity and local characteristics can be fully utilized. But the monoculture business model that generated huge profits from GMOs did not disappear. In fact, it has boldly reemerged amidst global contingency such as the pandemic, Ukraine conflict, and climate change like now. Do you remember the UN Food Systems Summit held in New York last August? It was supposed to be made up of food and agriculture representatives from international civil society organization involved in food. However, this time, the UN, in partnership with the agribusiness lobby, which is CLOPRIFE, worked in tandem with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which comprises the world's top 100 multinational corporations. So in protest, the summit was boycotted by 55 organizations representing small farmers, indigenous people, fishermen, pastoralists, farm workers, scientists, and others. At this summit, criticized for being hijacked by cooperation, the 20th century concept of increasing food production through science, technology, investment, and innovation, and solving food problems by liberalizing trade was brought back to the table with a new keyword, digitalization. It was truly an attempt by a small number of multinational agribusiness, which control everything from seeding and cultivation to food processing, distribution and consumption, to partner with the big tech companies to create a new structure of control by digitalizing the global food system. So take, for example, the Climate Corporation acquired by Bayer, formerly Monsanto, in 2014, which has a cloud management service for digitalized agronomic information. This provides a remote instruction via an apps on your smartphone on what seed to sow and what time of year, and even when to apply pesticides and chemical fertilizers to specific areas of the fields. The entire process is monitored in real time through the apps. And just like online shopping, so it's just like Amazon, Bayer's products from agriculture materials and farming equipment to financial services and a sales site appear on the screen at the right time. So it's very convenient for farmers, and they can get apps for free. However, once integrated into the network, there is no longer any need for local direct sales outlet or wholesale markets. So there would be no need for local system eventually. The biggest advantage for Bayer is that it's all done on their own platform. All farmers will be under their umbrella. And another advantage for Bayer is a free collection of data from sowing to harvest, which is very, very worth it right now. In addition to the apps that Bayer provides to the farmers, the company is now digitally and vertically interconnected with other companies and regions that used to operate separately, such as Deere, a leading agricultural equipment manufacturer, and AGCO, the leading manufacturer and distributor of agricultural equipment. So this allows for plot-by-plot yield analysis, soil fertility management, and local weather data to be conducted on the same digital platform, which in turn increases the accuracy of the data as it is used by more and more users, and creates a virtuous cycle of retailing distribution channels and sales destinations. The company has already launched this app in the United States, Brazil, Canada, Europe, Argentina, and other countries, and has obtained information on a total of 24 million hectares of farmland. AI of these multinational agribusinesses are in the midst of developing their own apps and platforms and vying to be the first to digitally, vertically integrate their food system. So this all sounds good and efficient, right? But where have we seen this structure before? When it comes to digital technology and agriculture, the question to ask is not how useful it may be, but rather who is funding these digital tools? In other words, who stands to profit? Who controls who grabs the main control? So isn't it similar to the structure that has been created by globalization, where the local is crashed, standardized, and controlled by only a handful of people? This is what I'm talking about. So this new food system in which millions of small farmers are integrated under the umbrella of a huge centrally controlled digital network in exchange for immediate convenience is truly colonial in nature. So once a system is established in which agricultural data collected by a corporation is resold with a price tag, so without a farmer's knowledge and digital agriculture managed, operated by drones and sensors, controls everything from seed to consumption. Well, fields and farms would become unmanned like convenience store. Farmers will be evicted, and the number of fallow fields will increase. So if we overlook this risk, rural diversity, community, and sovereignty of small farmers will be forever lost, reversing a trend of localization that has been gaining momentum. So the takeover of the UN Food System Summit by multinational corporation was just the beginning of this digital monoculture 2.0. In April of this year, I had an opportunity to discuss the future of digitalization with Taiwanese Minister of Digital Affairs, Ms. Audrey Tan. So we discussed about this digital future. There are two ways. One is to colonial type. The other one is a diversity. And our conclusion of our discussion was that we must never centralize power. So in Taiwan, the style of digitalization is a transparent and participatory, so that it can be used as a tool for democratization rather than a monopoly. So since the outcome of technology depends on the intention of those who use it, the future will depend on whether the underlying concept is a pyramid-shaped monopoly or localization that respects the farmer, that respects agroecology and diversity. So because localization is dominated by small regional communities, data on the seed-to-table food production should never be monopolized by a few corporations. So this is what we really have to be careful when it comes to digitalization. Data is an important asset that must not be taken away from the little ones to prevent them from making informed decisions. So what can we do to stop the major players from centralizing power over food systems via digital technology? So first, when it comes to the cutting-edge digital technology, do not concentrate power. The 21st century is the era of data equal power. So we must create a strong bulwark for our data. Just like European Union set the rule for big tech cannot use their data without their consent. Just like that. And we must persistently lobby central governments and the international community to regulate multinational cooperation to ensure our information sovereignty and transparency with regards to the data siphoned off through application, especially when it comes to food. EU has passed several big tech regulatory laws that view data as a human right, including the GDPR that came into effect in 2018, and the UK, France, and the US are also discussing how to strengthen regulations. In many cases, however, central government and mainstream commercial media are naturally pro-cooperate because the capital power of big tech is holding them back. In Japan, the same situation. So the government is in the position of promoting digitalization, and it is best to assume that the information that the media disseminates is all about the benefits of digitalization at its core. This is why it's more important than ever for local governments to act guerrilla style in their respective regions. For example, in the United States, the home of big tech, but inherently local sovereignty, local government is at the center of the movement against the data colony. So let's go back to the February 2021, last year. The US state legislature of North Dakota introduced a bill to protect local small business from Apple and Google by exempting local business from the 30% fees they pay tech companies. It was narrowly defeated at the time, but the same bill was soon introduced in neighboring Minnesota with Arizona, Georgia, Massachusetts, and Wisconsin following suit. So other states have introduced bills to make it easier to apply antitrust laws to big tech in New York, to weaken the right of social networking companies, to monitor posts in Florida, and to tax online advertising in their states, namely Indiana, Maryland, and Connecticut. So the local governments stood up to protect their own business, local store, and resident data. Of course, behind the scene were the local legislators who persistently deliberated and developed the bill, and the local residents who continued to voice their opinions in order to protect their community. So the pandemic has truly underscored the importance of such moves. It's shown us how a sustainable food system is local rather than global. The key in the future will be public procurement in each region. In Japan, there is a rapidly growing movement to expand local food systems through school lunches. School lunches account for 1/6 of the food that children eat in a year, and this is being shifted from cheap imported food or processed food from local producers who use as little pesticides and chemical fertilizers as possible. So let me introduce a few well-known municipalities that have successfully implemented this initiative. First is Imabari City in Ehime Prefecture, where former school lunch section chief Jueonju Shigenobu, who was elected mayor in 1998, launched a very successful local school lunch revolution. Mayor Shigenovan's first step was to switch the school lunch rice, the origin of which was unknown, to locally produced rice. At the time in Japan, when the school lunch policy was to provide equal meals with as much uniformly as possible for the sake of equality. So there was no concept of giving priority to local ingredients to school lunch. But the mayor, however, persistently negotiated and finally succeeded in changing the rice used for school lunches to specially cultivated rice with 50% fewer pesticides and chemical fertilizers than usual. As you can imagine, the locally grown rice tasted better than the genetic rice that had been procured from outside the area. And the children were so pleased that their families began to buy the same rice for their home meals. Local farmers who until then have been struggling to grow their own rice in the face of imported ingredients recognized this and began growing their own specialty brands. And then they decided to make bread for school lunches with locally grown wheat. And although there had been no local bread wheat until then, they began to grow this locally as well, and production increased rapidly. And this was actually very significant for Japan, because most school lunch bread in Japan is made from imported wheat because of the Mutual Security Act of 1951, an agreement between the US and Japan that allows Japan to purchase cheap US wheat every year. So this agreement destroyed most of the Japanese wheat production, but the local school lunch project has revived local wheat, and the local economy has begun to circulate as the school lunch money paid by parents in Imabari City, which used to go to the global corporation in the US, now goes to the area's farmers, local farmers. And children now see the wheat fields swaying in the wind on their way to and from school and think about delicious bread made in their hometown. The children talk so much about the good school lunch at home that their parents wanted to make the same menu at home. So this led to the fabrication of school lunch recipes prepared by a nutrition professional for the children. So for the circular economy to succeed, it is essential for local residents to have the three perspectives of consumer, producer, and seller. By knowing how the food they eat is produced and how it reaches their tables, children become aware, perhaps for the first time, that they are receiving life. So Imabari City opened a citizen's farm free of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, equipped with farming tools and compost, so that anyone can experience farming for the 2 years. So whereas the global food system is a bipolar structure that turns everyone from all walks of life into mere consumers under the handful of shareholders, the local food system, which views the entire region as a single living organism in a cycle, allows everyone to have a different perspectives. So by becoming multiple parties involved in consumption, production, and sales, residents come to think about long-term sustainable development of the town, far beyond the consumer's perspective of, simply as long as it's cheap or as long as it's organic. Now it's more than that. So Imabari City created Imabari City Food and Agriculture Town Development Ordinance in 2006 to promote local farmers, school lunches, the environment, and local economic development. So you can see that local government is crucial in promoting localization in Japan. The central government encourages large-scale agriculture and deregulation to make it easier for foreign companies to purchase Japanese farmland, while individual local leaders are creating their own local rules to protect small local farmers and create a diverse community without uniformity. So in many parts of the world, studies have been conducted to families who shop at the discount supermarkets on a daily basis and found multiple toxic substances in the children's urine. But when the children were fed only organic food for 2 weeks, no more toxic substances were detected when they tested again 2 weeks later. So when children change, their parents' consumption behavior in choosing food for the family changes. When parents as consumers change, the purchasing behavior of local supermarket and local restaurant will change. So Japan has a low food self-sufficiency rate and has been dependent on imports from abroad. Local producers of local foodstuff have been exhausted by price competition with cheap imports. But through this initiative, in which local governments support the conversion of school lunches to organic, not only do they receive financial compensation, but they can also take a pride in being part of regional development by seeing local children grow up healthy on the rice and the vegetables they grow. So the combination of school lunch and organic farming is slowly changing the global food system that has been dependent on free trade. Just as a pebble thrown into the water creates a circle of multiple pebbles. So in Japan, laws are being passed one after another to destroy local native seeds traditionally protected by farmers and public seed businesses of local governments, such as the abolition of the seed law, which paved the way to private companies to monopolize the seeds. The agricultural competitiveness support law, which encourages farmers to provide their knowledge to private companies for free, and the revision of the seeds and seedling law, which prohibits farmers from collecting their own seeds. So the national government is pushing Japanese farmers to more and more towards big monoculture, dependent on imported food system. And especially now, the risk of the food crisis is growing. Seeds as the source of the food crisis must be protected at any cost. As mentioned above, several global companies are competing to monopolize the world's seeds right now. If even the safest and the best quality native seeds suited to the local environment and are held up by corporations, the sovereignty of food production itself will be taken away. So seeds are not a commodity to be patented. They are an important local common property. This is very, very important point when we enter the digitalizing agriculture. So in Japan, my husband, who is a member of the House of Councillors, is now making efforts to pass the local food law to protect local seeds by positioning them as a public assets and to financially subsidize them at the national and local levels to preserve the local producers, the knowledge of local producers. So for Japan, where natural disasters occur all year round, such as earthquake, typhoon, and sudden rains and mainstreaming typhoon and diversity of local seeds is extremely important in terms of disaster prevention. So the central government is moving toward reducing the number of rice varieties, but in the event of a disaster, this diversity with a total about 300 varieties in each region is a risk hedge. So through this proposed law and the local ordinance, the plan is to protect local seed under the responsibility of the government, provide research funding and technology to establish a local cyclical food self-sufficient system, and ensure that unique localization plans, such as the aforementioned universities, are well funded. So the plan also includes the establishment of a local food council in which government, consumers, farmers, schools, nutritionists, doctors, producers, distributors, and local restaurants will participate to create a food system unique to the area, where sharing opinions and information to create a better recycling-oriented society. So once this kind of system is created, then they can use digital technology, because it's a local based. When there is a local base, then we can utilize digital technology in a good way. And the Japanese government is encouraging climate change countermeasures, but since import-dependent Japan is now unable to obtain foreign pesticides and chemical fertilizers due to the pandemic and the Ukraine conflict, so the timing is forcing a change to an agroecological type of system that does not use them. So my husband is calling for the cooperation of local legislators throughout Japan, saying, now is our chance. So agroecological farming will bring back to life soil degraded by chemicals and restore its carbon-rich strengths which will be a powerful countermeasure against the climate change. So this is why seed sovereignty is a key. There are bright people who have realized this and are promoting very good movements at the local level. For example, Italy's local ordinances to protect the local seed, and Brazil's policy to protect the right to home collection of native seed. Many local governments, despite being pushed by global forces through bilateral free trade with the United States, have enacted ordinances to conserve and utilize native seed and promote local food, successfully creating a local food and agricultural system. South Korea is the best role model for Japan, as it is making efforts to expand its local food and agricultural system. So my husband is using South Korea's model to create his own local food law in Japan. As the Chinese saying goes, medicine and food are the same source. Food is deeply and directly connected to agriculture, the primary industry, and health, which is connected to life. So a movement to reclaim the public assets of such as water, forests, and oceans, starting with seeds and using them as a local basis with surely drive changes for the future. To prevent the GMO-dominated monoculture of the 20th century from becoming monoculture 2.0 of the digitalized 21st century. What is being challenged is not its know-how. The value of the precious things we hold in our hands, which we often overlook, they are about to be taken away from us. So in order to overcome the war against diversity that is being waged against us today, we need to ask ourselves how much we can respect life and humbly appreciate the fact that we are part of the great circle of people living together with many other beings and elements. So now there are several points for us to prevent monoculture 2.0 through digital technology, and we will use technology for keeping diversity, such as, we use a local government to create a law, data control law. Just like Europe and the US and France, they're doing that but nationally, but we also need a local government to put the data control law, democratize access and transparency, especially now it's more and more digitalized agriculture is coming to our life, and more farmers will start using the application, but we have to be very careful that their data has to be protected and the data usage needs to be transparent. And also local seed as a public asset, we have to protect local seed because local seed is the last asset for the global company trying to capture it and put the patent on it. And local circular economy and regenerative farming, and avoid GMO, gene editing, lab-made food. You know why? Because they're all going to be with a patent. Patent means a big company will eventually control the whole thing. And local media, because we need our own information platform. Corporate media is owned by big corp. So digitalization and smart agriculture, everything, we need to get the access to correct information, not altered by big corp. And the last co-op system, which we have in Japan, the whole country, we have a co-op system, agriculture co-op system, which is very, very important key when we digitalized the agriculture. Because co-op system is not centralized power, it's based on each player have its own voice. So that could be utilized very good way for the digitalization. So let's pass this on to our children. Let us tell the young ones that the localization we're promoting now is not the methodology for the sake of economy or efficiency, but an idea of caring for all living creatures. So localization is the very important structure before everything becomes digitalized. Thank you very much.
예, 발표 감.
Thank you for your presentation. So you talked about the food global market and the monoculture, and also the sense of you, or give us the sense of the crisis. So I thought this local food system itself is to prevent the monopoly and also address the climate change and also diversify the seed types. And also seek the biodiversity. So then let me move to the last discussion. Ayoung Kim from the 성공회 University.
Good morning, I'm Kim Ayoung from Seonggonghae University. I'm an activist working for a cooperative, and I'm a member of the organizing committee of this conference. So based on my background, I will try to relate myself to this issue. So usually in this conference, we always have a food-related session where we talk about food and the lifestyles of citizens and the role of citizens as the entities resolving social issues. So for the past 8 conferences, we've talked about local food and the importance of cooperation between consumers and producers, and the principle of how this works and how we can facilitate this. And we also saw food plan as a virtuous cycle for the food system, and to help citizens participate in the system. And last year we talked about the food system that responds to climate change. We addressed that issue, thinking about how people respond to climate change based on their individual lifestyles. So I think this food session is all about facilitating, promoting the action of the citizens and supporting them in doing so. This year's topic is digital transformation and food plan, and I think the key point of this session, as mentioned by our 2 presenters and panelists, digital transformation and food plans are very big issues, so we may not know where to start when discussing the 2 topics. However, digital transformation, especially in our food lifestyle, will have an impact. And other than this, technology and society changes constantly, so we need to think about this potential issues that will threaten the lifestyle of the citizens in this process. Of course, it's important to respond, but also we need to think about what kind of perspective or attitude we're going to take on this constant change. In this regard, we have listened to 2 presenters, and let me talk about the points that I was inspired in the presentations, which was the action by the citizens. As Ms. Susumi has mentioned, also in Korea, cooperatives are focused on promoting local food or goods. So digital transformation is at the same time a crisis and opportunity. In terms of business, we deliver or sell organic food to raise convenience. But there are companies delivering food overnight, and these commercial retailers are becoming a threat to our cooperatives. And there's also organization-related crisis because of the lack of ownership by the members, users, and groups that have been increasing in number. And another group that's creating a problem is the mothers-led internet communities. Discussions in the mother-led communities impact local businesses. The digital transformation is creating a crisis for Korean cooperatives, and we need to think about what kind of merit we need to provide to consumers. But I don't think we can win over large companies in terms of convenience or better service. However, consumers and producers alike consume things in their lives. In discussions, we try to separate the role of one person as either a consumer or a producer, but this type of viewpoint does not help solve the issues. We all have the identity as a consumer and at the same time a producer, and we need to have a combined perspective when we look at social issues. We need to look at these issues as not a producer or consumer, but a citizen living on this earth. And Dr. Huang talked about the food plan, in which the key is participation and implementation. And at the same time, we need to reflect the needs and demand of the local community. Then how can we approach the issue of digital transformation and food plan? Einstein once said that if someone gives me 1 hour to resolve a problem, I will spend 55 minutes in defining the problem and use the remaining 5 minutes to find the solution. Currently, digital transformation can be a threat or an opportunity to food plan, the citizens, and local areas. But the key of this discussion is not that. We need to think about the viewpoints of residents on this digital transformation, why they think this is either an opportunity or a crisis. So from the morning, we've been discussing digital transformation from the perspective of labor, now food and lifestyle, and then finance in the third session. In the end, the impact of digital transformation on our citizens' lifestyles is an issue, and we need to think about how we are going to encourage the participation of citizens in this discussion and what their role would be. And in terms of this, I think the conference has been continuously contributing to these discussions. With this, I would like to conclude my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So during the session 2, we talked about the food plan and what kind of the basic level we had. And the purpose of this, the economics of the happiness, is to bring our citizens together and raise awareness about the civil organization and the climate change and the disaster and our activities. And also we hope that our activities here can be incorporated into the policy making, and that will be the desirable way to go. Time is almost up, so I think we should wrap up the second session with this. So lastly, Dr. Huang, can you give us any closing comments about the presentation? So both panel discussant gave the great idea, which is the core essence of the economics of the happiness. At the local level, at the citizens level, we need to organize our activities. And in that aspect, the food plan, which is the topic of the second session, is the local societies the technology to organize the safe food and safe food plan. Food plan became the mainstream policy in Korea, as Ms. Mika said. So the Korea became the benchmark of the Japanese food plan, which is very exciting and inspiring. But as the researcher on the field, so the Tsuzumi Mika's presentation and the panelists' presentation have to focus on what kind of the citizens' life should be pursued in Jeonju City and in Jeolla North Province. We try to incorporate the digital technology into the food plan. For example, we try to have the digitalization in the public food supply chain. So in these area, we try to find the local autonomy and local diversity, and the control over the data is researched the case by case in each detailed areas. So we have so many controversies in each layer of the sector. So we need to respond to the social problems with our autonomy of the local area. Any other comments you wanted to add? Okay. So in some aspect, we were wondering how we can connect the digital transformation with the food plan, but through the discussion, we can see the many areas of digital information can affect from production to consumption. And as a citizens, maybe we can find a lot of area we can work for. As Dr. Hwang said, in the food supply chain, there is the part we can take a role, and we can make the framework, we can make the food supply chain digitalized. Also, like a meal plan, public meal plan, the food sharings are the area we have to give our thoughts to. So it's been 3 years since I started to join in this conference, and it is very interesting to see the new discussion and the new idea about the food plan and the local food system. It is very interesting. And also this kind of discussion and solidarity will be the way to make our community better. So let me conclude the second session with this. And in the third session, we will talk about the digital transformation from a local finance perspective. So we will have a short break for 10 minutes and resume the session soon. Thank you.